Hey everyone, CNC Keith here. In this video I'm going to show you how to update your Acorn CNC12 software to the latest version. I'm running this little demo program right now on my benchtop setup. I've got a couple stepper motors connected up to the Acorn board. I got 4 of them as a matter of fact. And I'm just going to hit escape and we're going to come out to the main screen and I'm going to hit setup and show you what version I'm currently running with right now. This is version 4.06. Now 4.08 just came out today, so I'm going to show you how to install 4.08 on top of any older version. So in this case I'll be using 406 obviously. Now if you are installing CNC12 for the very first time on a clean installation of Windows, you want to watch another video, not this video. This video shows you how to update. The video that you want to watch if you're installing for the very first time is down here on the Acorn page. It says right here, there's a link that says Acorn CNC Controller Install Quick Guide, Quick Start Guide. Click on that, and on this web page then you will find instructions, step-by-step instructions, step 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on to do a clean installation. It starts out with configuring Windows 10 and wiring up the Acorn board, installing the software, etc. So that's what you want to do if you're doing a clean install. This video is for updating an existing installation. Alrighty, let's get started. The very first thing you want to do to update is go to the utility screen and hit Create Report. It's simply asking me where to save it. I'm just going to save it to the desktop right now. And in a second it'll say Report Completed. Alrighty, now I want to exit the CNC12 software. And I'm going to start the wizard, and this is the 4.06 wizard that came with 4.06, and when I scroll through these tabs, this is the setup that I'm using in the wizard that makes everything work. So what I want to do is record this information using the Windows snipping tool. So if I go down here to the Windows bar and type in snip, you're going to see a tool show up called snipping tool. Double click on that and this little tool shows up, and I'm going to click on New and simply draw a box around the very first tab like so, and hit the Save button and just call it whatever you want. I'm going to call it Wiz Tab 1406, and I'm going to just save that on the desktop as well. And now I'm going to go to the second tab and hit New and grab a screenshot of the second tab. Save, and we're going to call it Wiz Tab 2 406. Third tab, click New, grabbing the third screen, and I'm going to save that one. And last is the last tab, number 4. Okay, save that one, number 4. Okay, so I've got all 4 screens captured. I'm going to close the snipping tool and close the wizard. Now I'm going to do a little housekeeping here, a little backup housekeeping. I'm going to go into the C drive, and there's the directory here is CNCM. That's where all the Centroid CNC12 software lives, and what I want to do is make a copy of that. So I'm going to click on it, right click, and say copy, and then paste. And it says it put a CNCM copy there. I'm just going to rename that to CNCM 406. And you can leave the intercon directory alone. That's just fine. I just want you to make a copy of the CNCM directory. Now what I want to do is use the Windows Add Remove program. So I just went down here to the Windows search bar, typed in the word Add, and then double click on Add or Remove Programs, and the Add or Remove Programs window will pop up here. And there's 2 programs in here that I want to uninstall. I'm going to uninstall the mill, CNC12 mill, say uninstall, just follow the instructions. And you're going to get this little error message on 406. Just say OK to it. And then it asks you, would you like to delete all of your CNC programs? I'm going to say no to that. I just want it to leave my CNC G-code and intercom programs alone. And then when it's done, it says close. And then I want you to scroll down at the bottom and uninstall the virtual control panel as well. You got to hit uninstall a few times. And here we go. Make sure you have this bottom tab selected. Remove this application from the computer. And it'll just take a second, and then it's gone. I accidentally opened up two of them, so I'm just going to close that one. Alrighty, great. The next step that we want to do is go back into this C drive and delete the CNCM directory. So I'm just going to highlight it and delete it, leaving my 406 backup directory in place. Okay, now I've downloaded the 4.08 CNC12 mill and lathe release from the Centroid website. And if you don't know where that's at, you can just go to the Acorn page. And let's just go to it. And right underneath where you can buy the Acorn, right here, it says Centroid free CNC mill and lathe software download. So we're going to go to that page and click on to download the software. So I downloaded it. It's a zip file here. I'm just going to right click and click on extract all, and Windows will unzip that into a folder for me. Okay, and it just took a second and it went ahead and opened up that folder for me. Here's the folder here. I'll just move it up there. And there's only 3 files in this folder, and the one you want to click on is setup.exe. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on setup.exe. And we're starting the CNC12 4.08 installation. Just click I agree, next, and pick whether you want to install mill or lathe 4.08. I'm going to do mill. Next, and then install. Just takes a second. Click next. Finished. And the wizard starts. Alrighty. Now, use the screenshots to reset the wizard. So we have a bunch of screenshots here on our desktop. I'm going to open one of them. Here it is on the left. This is the 406 screenshot, and I'm just going to set it here. And so with the 406 screenshot on the left and the new wizard on the right, what I want to do is make the new wizard match the screenshots from the old one. So looks like I had no limit switches connected because this is a benchtop system. So I'm setting the limit switches 1, 2, 3, and 4 to unused in the new wizard on the right. And also I don't have any probes hooked up to the system, so I'm going to also click unused. Okay, that's it for tab 1. Let's close that and let's go look at the old 406 tab 2. And alrighty, looks like everything's the same, but it looks like my max rate was set to 200 in the old setup, so I'm just going to change the new setup to also be 200, and it was 0.5 across the board. Simple home, directions are good. You also notice the new wizard here has the fast probe rate and the slow probe rate right in here as well that you can set, which is pretty cool. And that looks good for tab 2. Let's go look at tab 3. And if you don't know how to use Windows, you know what I'm doing. You minimize the window, grab the window here so I can drag it around, and then slam it to the left, and it makes split screen for you. So this is really nice. This is the technique I'm using so I can see the old screenshot that I made and the new one. So looks like I want to change it to yes for spindle encoder, and you can see here that we've got some new choices. Virtual control panel, yes or no. Some people don't want to run the virtual control panel for whatever reasons. I love it, so I always say yes. Also, it's asking me if I have an X keys pad or an Xbox pad or some other way to, or if I'm using keyboard jogging. So I'm going to say yes to that. Alrighty, that's it for tab 3, and let's open up tab 4 and see what we got going on in tab 4. Okay, looks good. This is where you pair some axes. We're going to come back and do that in a second. For now, it looks good. So now when you have the new wizard matching all the screens on the new wizard matching the old wizard, you absolutely want to hit right settings of CNC control on the lower right, say yes to the question, okay, and now you're ready to close out the wizard. Here's my new 4.08 icons. And now we're going to run CNC12 4.08 for the very first time. The very first thing it's going to do is do a firmware update. And it gives you this message, MPU rebooting, do not power off. Very important that you don't power off the Acorn board because you will destroy the firmware downloading process. So just let it do its thing. It might just take a minute here. Have a little patience. Okay, it updated the firmware and started CNC12. Now, one of the very first things you want to do is if you have a license, a Pro or an Ultimate license, go to the Utility menu and reinstall that license. All you got to do is hit Option, Import License, and I'm going to navigate to mine. I put it in a folder on the desktop. Right here, here's my Pro license, and it says License Successfully Imported. And you can know that here in the utility menu. It'll let you know what version you're at and what level you're at. It also says that on the setup menu when I hit F1 setup, and that's where I'm at. Now, once you've imported the license, it's a good time to check things out. So what I'm going to do is press the reset button, and I'm going to press my physical e-stop button and release it. That all seems to be working. So it's asking me to home the machine out. I'm going to press cycle start to home the machine out. It says machine home set. Let's hit the graph. There's a couple demo programs in here. And let's load my Bikers Boulevard back up that we started with and run that job and see what happens. Well, there goes my motors. You can probably hear them in the background. And we're in G-code view right now. If we wanted to run the runtime graphics like we did before, you would hit F4 run, runtime graphics on. Now, when I hit cycle start, the runtime graphics will appear. And while it's running the job, it shows you the position of the tool. And it's a tiny little dot because this is an engraving bit with a very, very small diameter. I'm going to go ahead and turn up the feed rate override. Any point in time, you can switch back between the G-code view and the graph view, which is kind of nice. Alrighty, looks like it's working. That's how you do the update. One of the things that I would do at this point in time is absolutely go in the Utilities menu and create a fresh report. So this report will be the 4.08 report. That way, if you ever have to install 4.08 again, you don't have to do all the stuff I showed you how to do in this video. All you would have to do is install 4.08 and come over here to Restore Report. And in one button click, you would be right back where you were. All your settings would be automatically transferred for you into the system. So that's one of the big reasons to make a report, to be able to quickly and easily reinstall the software without having to go through all the setup screens on the wizard. Not that that's a big deal, but it's nice to have a report. Now there's a lot of great little changes in the milling software, the CNC12 mill software. You can see some better messages here. There's a whole laundry list of stuff. I'm not going to go over it in the video, but what I do want to show you, the really big deal about 408 is that the lathe software, Centroid CNC12 lathe software, has been released. So since this is my benchtop system, I'm going to go ahead and install the lathe software as well. So I'm just going to double click on this setup exe file in that same folder, the 4.08 folder. And this time around, I'm going to pick lathe. And I'm going to go ahead and just keep clicking next to install the CNC12 lathe software. you'll see the wizard fires up, and I'm going to go ahead and select G540 drive only because that's what I have connected up to this machine, and I'm going to change the first two inputs to unused because I don't have any limit switches connected to this machine. And I'm going to go ahead and set the maximum rate of the motors at 200 inches a minute. The rest of this information looks good. There's my steps per revolution and my overall turns ratio. If you're coming from Mach 3, we split these two parameters into two separate parameters, where Mach 3 combined them, which is kind of crazy. So make sure that you're entering the steps, the number of steps per revolution of your particular motor and drive, and then this is how many turns of the motor yields 1 inch or in 1 inch of travel. This is your backlash compensation, what your fast jogging, slow jogging, your max rate, and this is your acceleration to that max rate. This is how you tune your stepper motors. Half a second works pretty good. Anywhere from 0.3 to 0.5 is typical for a 5 turns per inch machine or even a 10 turns per inch machine. This is if you're jogging, and the direction reversal, if you're jogging and the motion is going the opposite way that you thought, just change that to yes and then hit right settings to CNC control and try to jog again. You'll notice that motor now will be going the other way. Home the switch is what it says. If you're homing out the limit switches, you better have limit switches connected and configured in that first tab. Simple home is just home wherever you're currently sitting. If you do pick simple home, or if you do pick home the switch, there's a whole bunch of nice settings here on which directions you would like to home, and then the sequence, which axis you want to move first, and then your travel limits, how far can you travel from the home position after it's hit those limit switches. That's what that's all set up for. Since I'm bench testing, I'm not using that right now, so it's fine. I do have a spindle encoder connected. It is 8,000 counts per rev. I am using a touchscreen, and I want to say yes to having an X key pad. I'm using the virtual control panel. And then here in the lathe wizard, you get to pick what type of lathe you're running. And I'm using a horizontal lathe with front mount tooling as my example, and so I would pick those selections. That sets up the virtual control panel jog buttons in the proper orientation. And then under the advanced tab, this is axis inversion stuff, is only if you have drives that require you to invert the step direction or enable signals. That's how you do that. I don't. I just have a G540. It works with the stock configuration. I'm not pairing any axis, and the step rate, you have two choices between 200,000 and 400,000. 200,000 is fine for me. Now I hit right settings to CNC control, hit OK, say OK again, close the wizard. I'm going to close this tab. And now I have a lathe wizard icon and a lathe CNC12 icon. I'm going to go ahead and start CNC12 lathe. Here we go. And there's CNC12 lathe up and running. Let's press the reset button 2 times to clear it. I'm going to go ahead and check my e-stop. Physical e-stop's working. And I'm going to home it right where it's at by hitting cycle start. It gives me my DRO up here. And the pawn program's already loaded. I'm going to go into runtime graphics and turn runtime graphics on. And I'm going to hit cycle start a couple times and start machining the job. You can hear my motors moving. And we're starting the automatic profile cycle to rough out the material for the pond. Now what's cool is you might wonder where that G-code program came from. If I hit F5 cam and then hit F1 intercon, the pawn conversational program pops up on the screen here. And this is the entire pawn, everything you see right here. And so you can get in here and just by hitting enter and check these particular conversational blocks. Each one of these on the left of the screen is called a block. So that's block 9. I'm on block 10 right now. I'm going to move down to block 11. I'm hitting enter to get into it. And the very first thing is a facing move, just to face the stock that's in there. And then the next thing is a profile move. In a profile, when you start a profile, you can have a whole bunch of lines and arcs inside a profile. And what then the profile does is it automatically cleans out all the material to get to that shape. And that shape is our pawn. And it even has finish pass information, how much do you want to leave, etc. And then the very last thing after the profile cycle is the cutoff cycle. At any point in time in the conversational while you're working with it, you can graph it to see what's going on. Red lines are rapids, yellow lines are the center line of the tool. And once you've completed your conversational program, you hit F10 post, and it will generate G-code, which you can run. So I'm going to go ahead, there's the G-code that it just created, and I'm going to hit cycle start to start the job.